about the increases in algal blooms that we've seen in Lake Superior, particularly along the south shore of the lake. And so I'll just kind of skim over this here real quickly because we've covered that for a good bit today. First, the title of my talk on the agenda is sufficiently inadequate. I think it just says nearshore nutrients. I apologize for that. Mostly what I wanted to talk with you about is some of the work that a lot of partners have been doing in recognition of the problem that we've seen over the past 7 years or so with increased algal blooms and how do we respond to that. And wanted to put that in the context of things for us to think about in this CSMI conference. So this slide here is compliments of Brenda LaFrancois. Her photos and work are kind of all over the conference. Thank you, Brenda. What we do without you. But I wanted to give you a little bit of history and background context for the increase in algal blooms that we've been seeing. So first, let's just take a look at the black dots. Those are anecdotal historical observations. Main point there being we haven't seen a lot in the past. Along the North Shore there were some blooms in the 1960s, thinking that's associated with some tailings dumpings associated with the reserve mine in the 1960s. A couple of anecdotal observations on sand and Stockton, but really not a whole lot until that big flood in 2012. And when we got that big flood in 2012, we really thought it was a fluke, right? Because we don't get rains like this very often. We don't see these blooms in Lake Superior. We thought it was going to kind of be a one-off. But we've seen those blooms then in 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018. Those of you that have been paying attention, you'll notice that in Bob Sterner's talk, that 2015 bloom, he said was absent. I caught him at lunch, and there was a bloom then, but the composition of it was kind of the reason why they kind of left that off their talk. But the point being, we're seeing these blooms with increasing frequency. And the other thing that I wanted to point out here is where we're seeing those blooms. It's kind of from Herbster up until the Apostle Islands. It's where those blooms have been observed. But the question is, are we seeing them there because that's where the people are, and that's where they're being observed? Or is there something unique about those areas that's the reason that we're seeing those blooms there? So after the State of Lake Superior conference last fall, a group of us along the South Shore got together and said, how can we work together to better understand the conditions leading up to and during these blooms, to understand those processes and what's going on? And so what I'm going to talk about is both what the DNR is doing and what some of our partners are doing to help kind of better paint that picture. So this is the work that we at the DNR are doing in collaboration with the National Estuarine Research Reserve in 2019. And really what we're trying to get a better handle on is first that question, are these blooms just occurring in the Apostles and over in kind of the Bark Bay, Siskiyou Bay area? Is that where they're occurring, or is that where we're noticing them? So we want to get a better feel for the spatial distribution of those blooms. So we've taken kind of the 55-mile stretch from Superior to Corny and broken into about 3.5-mile blocks, and we're sampling each of those every couple of weeks, June through September. We have vertical profiles that we're taking in addition to grab samples of kind of basic water quality, nutrients, chlorophyll, phycocyanin, and then the vertical profiles also with some basic water chemistry, DO, temperature, conductivity, chlorophyll A, phyco. Trying to get a feel along a 5-meter contour, what's the distribution of those blooms. And one thing I'll note is that in the 2018 bloom, those of you that were at the State of Lake Superior conference, the For the Water Kayakers folks, they gave a phenomenal presentation. Some college kids from Michigan Tech were paddling at the time of that 2018 bloom and said that they paddled through it the entire way from Superior to Cornucopia. So these blooms might be more spatially distributed than we're thinking, and that's what we're trying to get a handle on. But we're also thoughtful of how we as a state with limited resources can contribute to nearshore monitoring overall. We have limited capacity, we have limited resources, but what's the value-added piece that we can contribute that's tied into the nearshore framework, that leverages the National Coastal Condition Assessment, that works with CSMI? And here, really what we're striving for is how to best contribute the resources that we can so that all of us can kind of understand these conditions a little bit better. And as part of that, we're also partnering with USGS. We'll be out in a couple of weeks with them with some of their tow-behind sensor array of sensors to follow us along this 5-meter transect and be collecting data as we go, in addition to our grab samples and vertical profiles, to say how well do those samples at the 5-meter contour represent kind of a greater spatial area. This is our contribution to nearshore monitoring in 2019, but a lot of other partners in the room are helping out as well. So again, after that, the State of Lake Superior conference in the fall, we got together and started talking about who's doing what and how we can all work together. The idea here being 2 + 2 doesn't equal 4, right? By working together, we get a whole lot more information. And I just got the stop sign, so I'll just real quickly just kind of point out that as a group, we've been trying to work together to say, what are you doing? What are you doing? How can we complement that? So contributions from Bob Sterner's lab with Park Service, sampling both tributaries and then also some spots in the Nearshore. Northland College helping out with their ongoing monitoring in Chequamegon Bay, but also using some of the work at UMD and kind of replicating that and bringing that work to a greater, spreading that work throughout kind of Wisconsin's portion of the basin. So just something for us to think about as we think about CSMI, how can we all kind of bring our various expertise and capacity to kind of learn more through that process. I think that's all I